So get ready for a long one, folks. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 46 of Under the Middle Rope. I'm your host, Jose Tabuada, in his beautiful Toon Squad jersey from Space Jam. I'm sorry, I just had to bring that up. It is another episode here on the podcast, and it's AEW Revolution Fallout. AEW Revolution happened this past Sunday, and of course, this is a little unique in the sense that I'm recording after Dynamite happened, which is somewhat of a first, and I'll go into more detail on that in the discussion. But yes, it is a long episode today, as you've seen in the time frame already. So we had a great discussion on a lot of things here. Pete Atkinson is back. Alex Mirza is back with us as well. So we're gonna get right into it. All I can say is just sit back, relax, and enjoy our AEW Revolution Fallout. Hey everybody, there's a reason why we're laughing right now to open up the introduction, the discussion. Alex Mirza to my right, Pete Atkinson down below.
Hi again.
Yeah, the reason why I'm saying we're laughing,
blow the lid off this whole thing,
because I started my introduction and then I realized that this wasn't nearby me, so I realized I had to start again. But as
we're very professional here, as you can see.
Oh boy, I love it when I mess up, and I don't think I'll release that blooper to you guys. But anyways, yes, it is our AEW Revolution show, and what I was telling these guys, and what I briefly said in the introduction, is that it's somewhat unique in the sense that I recorded this late in the week, as in I recorded it this past Thursday, the day before. And the reason why I say that is because we can add on to what happened on Dynamite at the following the fallout from Revolution, because there's a lot to discuss, especially with that thing from the main event, which we're gonna get to. I think this is also great that we don't release these episodes right away on Monday, because it gives us time to process as to what the heck happened. Before we go any further, though, I do want to get serious just for a little bit. And I know I speak on behalf of all of us, but I do want to start off just very quickly, just sending thoughts to Becky Lynch, who lost her father just about an hour before we started recording. An hour and a half before we started recording, she posted up on Instagram that she lost her father, which it's obviously heartbreaking. And the pandemic, of course, prevented her dad to meeting her daughter. And of course, our thoughts and prayers are with Becky's family and her father. And of course, it's obvious. I mean, especially around this time too, I know a lot of people get angsty about, like, you know, where's she gonna be? Is she coming back or whatnot? And right now, it's just not the time, and it's just so heartbreaking to hear. So I don't know if you guys have anything else to say, but we just send our thoughts to Becky on this. Just what a tough day. Just really just not fun at all. So yeah, I think I can't say it any better than that.
Really well said.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So if you guys have nothing else to add on that, which I don't know, I don't think so, not really. So we move on, and so we're going to get right into the matches. Of course, we don't talk about the buy-in match because, well, it's a buy-in match, I guess. I mean, you can quickly talk about it with Maki Ito making her AEW debut as Britt Baker's partner. They got the win over Rio and Thunder Rosa. Again, there's nothing much to it. It's just she debuted it. It's great. She appeared on Being the Elite, which was hilarious enough. So nothing else to say. Let's move on. I'm going to start up with the first match of the night. The Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, taking on Chris Jericho and MJF, who, of course, MJF and Chris Jericho lost. And it was for the World Tag Team Titles. Again, great opening night. Great opening match, I should say, to open up the night. And, of course, this all ended up leading to Chris Jericho being kicked out of the Inner Circle, and I guess MJF creating his own faction, from what I was reading. Lex, let's start with you and your thoughts on the match and the fallout from Jericho. Now, finally, looks like that's it with the Inner Circle. It's over.
Yeah, no, it was a good match. I was actually, my girl and I were watching the show at a bar. There was a viewing party, a safe viewing party, so no worries there. And we were watching on Bleacher Report, and for some reason, it took. It wasn't working, so we missed the first like 5 minutes or 10 minutes of it, which is kind of annoying. But what I did see, it was good. It was a good match. You know, Jericho's a pro. You know, he knows where to. He picks his spot and takes it in the match. You know, does as much as he can do. MJF is great as always. I did feel like, you know, for a match that, was built the way it was with, you know, MJF and Jericho, of course, attacking the Young Bucks' father backstage and, you know, making it bloodying him and, you know, all that kind of thing, all that kind of stuff. You would think, I guess, under more traditional circumstances, this would maybe be the first match of a series. It could have been off something like that, but of course, the plan was something very different as we know now. But the match itself was good. I enjoyed it. I'm not the biggest Young Bucks fan. I'm not the biggest fan of their matches. I think a lot of them a lot of them are very samey, but this one was I enjoyed this one. Young Bucks win, clean the middle, good stuff. And then of course the storyline that took place the following Wednesday in the main event of the show, the Inner Circle War Council, where it looked as if MJF was going to unite with Santana Ortiz and Jake Hager to kick Chris Jericho out of the Inner Circle. Then Sammy Guevara made his big return, and he revealed that it was that MJF's plan to Jericho. Then it turns out, no, Inner Circle and Jericho, they were always on the same page. They talked to each other. They were smart. They didn't fall for it. And they turned on MJF, and they were going to kick him out of the Inner Circle now. And MJF told them, no, I'm not actually trying to take over the Inner Circle. I'm too busy making my own faction. Then, of course, lights turn on, and in the ring is FTR, Tully Blanchard, Wardlow, and Shawn Spears. And they just beat the living heck out of the Inner Circle. Bloody Jericho, throw him off the stage. It was awesome. Those are all people that I'm a huge fan of. FTR, Shawn Spears, Tully's been great. Wardlow, ton of potential. MJF, one of the best talkers in wrestling right now. I was kind of disappointed with what MJF and FTR were doing the past couple months. The comedy stuff, wrestling with Marco Stunt and all that kind of thing, kidnapping people, things like that. I didn't think it was the best use of MJF and FTR personally, but I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. This could be a really, really awesome, heel group. And of course, Inner Circle now baby faces. I think with the stuff they were doing in recent months since COVID happened, more comedic, lighthearted stuff, I think this was the right move to make, making them the good guys now. Seeing this new group of just this stable of just pure heel wrestlers, I think it'll be a great thing. They'll bring a lot to the show. There could be some awesome matches that come out of this, and the big one, of course, is finally getting that blood and guts match, 5-on-5 war game style match with these two groups. I think it'll be awesome, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is probably my favorite thing I've seen on Dynamite in a long time. This reveal of this new heel stable, so I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I know Blood and Guts was about to happen last year around this time, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and of course, gotta love the irony that on recording day is the day that COVID became a global pandemic. What a happy anniversary, happy birthday, gentlemen, whatever. Pete, let's go with your thoughts on all this.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to really commend Jose on starting this episode with a production botch. It felt very appropriate.
We'll get there. We'll definitely get there.
I really liked this match. I thought it was a great opener. I think it's maybe shows with Jericho now. I think he might be more suited to tag team wrestling in terms of it does allow him to shine in the spots he needs to. He can take the break on the side when he needs to as well. Doesn't have all the camera light on him, and then means when he is, he can be as effective as possible. MJF continues to impress me every time he gets in the ring. I always think I underestimate how good he is because I always just think of him as that promo guy and not the expert in ring, which I should, considering he's had great matches with Cody, had great match with Jungle Boy, all that stuff. But no, I thought it was a fantastic opener. As Lex mentioned, I think the fallout from this match was excellent as well. The War Council. It's one of those where the obvious storyline still would have been great with just MJF kicking Jericho out, taking over the Inner Circle. That would have been fun. Then the initial swerve I wasn't on board with just, oh yeah, Inner Circle's fine. They're just going to beat up MJF. I was like, that's a bit dull. And then a double swerve, which was fantastic. And one of the few times where almost overbooking was great for once. So, no, I absolutely love this. I think you got a lot of interesting factions now forming on Dynamite. So you got this War Council, whatever they're going to be, the Revelation, etc. You've got the Inner Circle. You've got Bullet Club USA. You've got Death Triangle over there now. So you've got a lot of interesting factions there. And I'm really intrigued where that's going. So no, I thought it was a great opener, great match, kicked off the show really well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great opener too. I mean, it's more intriguing to me at the end of it all because I mean, like the match was great, was what it was, but the fallout just what makes it interesting for me. And I kind of like this happening to Jericho because I mean, I remember when AEW first started, and there were some people skeptical about Jericho being put as the first top guy, and you needed that face, you needed that recognizable face to get the company up and going. Now he's taken a step back, and he's still making an impact and helping other people, other younger talent, kind of just get their spot, the spot that he once had in many different companies. And so here you now have with MJF, which is obviously going to start this program very shortly. And yeah, the Young Bucks put to the side now, but the fact that Jericho has this going for him, and now that he can work with MJF and like indirectly help MJF grow as well, I can't complain. I really like the spot for Jericho. But yeah, like I said, I mean, the match was what it was, but I just want to emphasize that. So we move on to something I was really impressed with. And of course, I'm talking about the Casino Tag Team Royale. And the reason why I say I was impressed is because it ended up being a Tag Team Royal Rumble. And everybody knows I love a good Rumble. Everybody loves a good Rumble, Your children will like a good Rumble, the birds, the bees, everybody likes a good Rumble. And I'm just happy that it was literally every 90 seconds, none of us, okay, let's get ready to cue them when we need to cue them up. Okay, has it been like a few minutes? Has it been longer than 90? Okay, go. Are we running out of pay-per-view time? Send them out after 20. Right? The clock was on the screen. I thought that was great. Ray Phoenix, representing Death Triangle, eliminated Jungle Boy in the final two, representing Jurassic Express. How many teams were there? It was 15 teams in total. At one point, we were wondering, okay, how many teams are in this thing?
30-man Rumble.
It was a 30-man Rumble, just shortened, just cut in half, but still getting the same amount. And I had a lot of fun with this. I mean, it's a Rumble's a Rumble, and the dynamic of a tag team Rumble just sounded so intriguing to me. And to see it all unfold, I was a really, really big fan of this. So I like the unique turning an idea that's been seen obviously in the last 30 plus years and somehow change it up a little bit. So I like that. I like that a lot. I was a really big fan. I mean, it's so hard to really critique these Rumbles because it's all over the place in a good way. Even if the Rumble can be really bad, it's still all over the place in a good way. And it's hard to process like a good Rumble or a bad Rumble, in my opinion, at least. I know some people say otherwise, but Pete, we're going to start with you on this. Any thoughts on how this all came about, or what you thought of the whole thing?
Well, I love a Rumble, and a surprise Rumble is always an added bit of fun.
Yeah.
When you're not expecting a Rumble, you're expecting another tag team normal battle royal, which I've done 3 or 4 times now in AEW, and to be honest, it's getting a bit bored of them. I was thinking, it's another tag team battle royal, but Tag Team Rumble, that's entirely different. Sign me up every day for a Tag Team Rumble. I think there was a bit of a lull in the middle of this. I think it was like you had the Peter Avalon that came out, then the Varsity Blondes came out. I think Gun Club were around that point as well. It was like teams that you didn't really care about. So it started off okay. Like Santana and Ortiz did pretty well. And I think I was looking at the eliminations this, and you could really tell which teams they care about, because I think Santana Ortiz got 6 eliminations between them. I think Jurassic Express got 8 eliminations between them. I think Death Triangle got 8 eliminations between them. And you thought, I was like, yeah, I think they might have some favored teams in this. But I think the last 10 minutes of this match were fantastic for a Rumble. I think getting to that point was a little bit slow, a little bit of a lull at times, but the last 10 minutes, brilliant. And Ray Phoenix is just insane.
Oh, he's so
the stuff he does is just so fluid, so smooth, everything. Like, he's getting that point where it's just ridiculous. He is the ultimate high flyer, I think, in the world right now, in terms of, I don't think anyone can actually match him. Because I think Ospreay is starting to move away from that, who's maybe the only person I would compare it. I think, but he's moving towards a less high flyer style. But Phoenix, I think, is completely unmatched in the stuff he does. And I'm trying to think the right word, almost like the creativity of the spots he makes as well. I think it just, even if the referee looked like an absolute idiot after he dived through the middle rope and he thought he dived over the top. We'll ignore that bit. But Final 4, fantastic. The right team won.
Lex, sorry, oh my God, the ref. Okay, he's out. What? Sir, he went through the middle. Lex, let's go with you.
Yeah,
Did he go under the middle rope?
Well played.
AEW referees look like putzes.
Brilliant. Lex.
Yeah. AEW referees looking like putzes. Yeah, that's a new site. I agree with what you said about the 90 second increments. Keeping track of that. I do appreciate that, but of course, like when you are a little more flexible with the time increments, I feel like there's less run over. There's less people. It's it's more, real, I guess, but it's also a little more disorganized. I feel like when, you can time your spots perfectly. Okay, now start the timer, whatever. So like Pete said, as a result, I felt like near the middle, it did kind of get a little messy. There was a lot of stuff going on. Like a lot of eliminations didn't get caught on camera. Although the one that did get caught on camera was Marco Stunt trying to eliminate Evil Uno, who then ran across the entire apron into the ring post and fell.
But the apron was slippy, Lex.
The apron was slippery.
Yeah. Very slippery.
Oh my goodness!
You had to run headlong into the ring post. That was something. And it also, it showed, people love praising AEW's tag team division. They definitely have a lot of tag teams, probably like more tag teams than you'll ever see anywhere. And like you said, you could definitely tell which ones are the important ones and which ones are sort of the ones who are there to be eliminated. But yeah, like you said. As it started to narrow down, I believe the final four were John Silver, Pac, Ray Phoenix, and Jungle Boy. That was really good. You got to see the heel team. I guess they're heels now. I'm not even sure. You'd be beating up the two babyface guys. John Silver gets eliminated. Of course, everyone loves him. He got eliminated. And Jungle Boy fighting from the bottom. Fighting off Pac and surviving and getting very close. But of course, Ray Phoenix was the winner. So now we'll see Death Triangle versus Young Bucks. I'm sure that'll be a very good. Flippy match indeed.
Can't wait.
Yeah. I just find it weird that like if we're talking about stuff from the Dynamite as well, I find it surprising that I know Pentagon was injured for a little while, but of course he and Ray Phoenix were the big tag team signing, one of the first big tag team signings in AEW. And of course Pac, when they joined forces, was the obvious singles guy. He was the guy who was a singles guy in WWE and everything else. And Phoenix as well has been doing a lot of great single stuff as well in recent weeks. And then to have Phoenix and Pac be the tag team, and now Pentagon looks to be entering a singles feud. It's not what I expected. It was very, very out of nowhere, I felt. But I do love Pentagon, so I'm curious to see what he does with Cody.
Just to come in there, I think it's a bit like SCU in that type of thing where any of them can team together, any of them can have a bit of a singles run.
Well,
to be honest, when I look down this card, I think AEW need a trios title.
Oh yeah,
I think
absolutely.
they need to introduce the trios. They've got so many good trios.
They have a lot of trio groups. Yeah, they could definitely use that for sure.
And even look in this Rumble, the amount of teams in this Rumble which had like two people competing, but could have easily had three.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, you had you said like in terms of entries, entry number 2, the Dark Order, 5 and 10.
How many?
And then
3 different Dark Order teams.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I didn't even look at the third. I only saw the 2. Yeah, at number 5, Dark Order, Evil Uno,
5 and 10, 1 and 2, and 4 and
Reynolds and Silver.
And Silver and Reynolds as the final 2 to come into the Rumble. You had a good point there. Trios would not be a bad idea.
Would
not, and of course, just for clarification, Pac and Ray Phoenix, if it wasn't said.
Yes.
As that triangle competing for those tag teams. So let's move on. We're going to move on here to the. I don't have much to say on this, but it was a good match. Hikaru Shida, Ryo Mizunami for the women's for the AEW Women's World Title. Hikaru Shida. I've been a big Hikaru Shida fan since she won the title. I've been saying that anytime we talk AEW. Fantastic. Not much to say on the match again. I thought it was really fine. I know a lot of people are just like have a lot of comments on the women's division, the quote unquote weak and whatnot for AEW, but I feel like anytime that the match does happen, it does still tend to be good at the end of it all. I know the ending was a little bit weird, with Nyla Rose coming in and all that, and just like the big scruffle at the end of it. I know it threw some people off, but again, I don't have too much to say on this. It was a solid match, but I don't have much. Lex?
So I don't know what it was, but this match was sort of where I started to get a little bit drained, even though it was like the third match on the show. This one, the first like 2/3 of it were pretty solid. It's good, classic, Joshi style, strike exchange, Japanese style match. It was good in that regard. But then near the end, I was just I just checked out really hard. Like there was just so many, Shida hits her finisher, Ryo kicks out. She hit her other finisher, Ryo kicks out of that. She hits like 2 more like knee finishers, she keeps kicking out. It felt almost to me like the match almost like fell apart near the end. Like they didn't know what to do, so they just kept hitting each other with like finishers and kicking out of them. And then she had to use this like Trouble in Paradise like style kick which looked worse than her other kicks to win the match.
I thought it looked great. I thought that was one of the
did.
few good bits. The like spinning because she kneed her in the head, basically.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It really kind of broke down for me near the end. Just the constant like no selling and kicking out of everything, and I got really sick of it by the end. And then of course at the storyline at the end where the team of Nyla Rose, Britt Baker, and Maki Itoh come down and beat up everyone. I'm not sure why this group is now a thing. Britt Baker and Nyla Rose fought each other in the semifinals, whatever it was, and they were pretty clearly not allies in that match. And now suddenly they're working together, and Maki Itoh's there. She kind of gets the warhorse treatment. The internet loved her, so she got a spot on the show. But she is very entertaining. I'll give her that. But just this was very weirdly put together at the end. The Thunder Rosa comes out to make the save, sets up the 6-man tag, and now we're getting the first ever Dynamite women's main event next week at the St. Patrick's Day show, apparently.
Is that actually the first?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely been advertising it like that. And, like Jose said, like a lot of people criticize the AEW women's division, and there is good reason for it a lot of the time. But I don't think that I know Thunder Rosa and Britt have been feuding for a while, but I feel like to have the first women's main event like this and not even have it be a title match, just have it be this feud it's been going for a while, but I haven't really been that. I thought it pretty much had its end when they had their match at New Year's Smash, whatever it was. And now they're having another match to be the first women's main event. It just feels kind of like this isn't just an automatic fix, like you can't just have a women's main. I feel like, of course, when Jose's favorite Trish and Lita had their first Raw women's main event, it felt earned. It felt like this is a natural progression. We reached this point. These two women have, worked really hard to get here and have that match.
I kind of agree with you, but at the same time, I would also say like all the other matches that main event, like weekly shows, and that generally aren't that well built or aren't that big of a deal in terms of like what like the main event. Okay, like the main event match this week was Darby Allin versus Scorpio Sky, which just had a number one contenders match, and they just had it. I know it wasn't the main event segment, but I'm just using it as an example. This match has been just as well built as that match.
I agree.
So in terms of that,
sure, but
I don't feel they should need a justification to earn that spot. I feel like here's the thing. In that same boat as
here's the thing, Pete.
Our match is just as big as yours.
But then when you look at the graphic for the match for the show, it says main event, like in big title and big font on the match card for the match.
Yeah,
so they're trying to make this a big deal. They're trying to make this a really big deal. And obviously, a women's main event there should be women's main events more often. And of course, when Sasha and Charlotte had theirs, it felt like it was earned. These two had this really great feud, great matches, everything. And this just sort of feels like we're just doing it just to do it. I'm sure it'll be a fine match, but it feels to me like we're just trying to put a Band-Aid on a large wound. Like, hey, women's main event, everything's fine. Women's division's great, and the title's not even involved. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But the match itself, it was good at the start, and then near the end, I sort of lost interest. But we'll see how that match goes, I guess.
Pete, you were adding on to it. If you want to
see, I almost feel the opposite. Like I was so not into this match at the start, but as it went on, I kind of got into it. So I kind of had the opposite experience.
Okay,
I quite enjoyed the finish of this match, but it took me like 10 minutes to actually get at all into it. So I feel like a bit good for Rio because obviously she was thinking about retiring a couple of years ago and said it was actually wrestling in AEW made her want to wrestle there again. So I'm glad they gave her that type of spotlight. The post-match shenanigans, I'm kind of like, it was a bit all over the place. It didn't really make sense. You had the teams come in, and then I don't understand why the heels went out, because when you had 3 fresh people versus 1,
right?
I know they fought on the pre-show, but at the same time,
they did that a lot. Where
I didn't like that.
Look at Team Taz, running away from Sting when there's 5 of them and he's old. So it's an AEW thing, I guess.
But I do disagree on the main event, though. I would say I do disagree on the main event thing. I kind of think, this
is my time. Sorry, I saw him brush her off. That is like his girlfriend Ellie, but I thought it was funny. Like, this is my time. Move.
I just don't know if you want that. Okay, I'm thinking.
No, you're good. It's just funny. Just brush it off.
Continue, please.
Yeah, I disagree on the main event just because I think Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa has been one of the few actual feuds within AEW's women's division, and one of the few things I think they've done pretty well there. And I do say one of the few in terms of AEW's women's division. So if any of the women have earned that type of main event slot, especially the lights out match, they've added the extra stipulation, obviously the end of that rivalry. I think that justifies it closing a show. So I actually have no complaints about that whatsoever in terms of it's clearly the extra stipulation, added stipulation in there.
But if it's lights
Clearly
out, does that
finishing off.
mean if it's lights out, does that mean it technically is not the first AEW Women's Main Event?
Maybe. Who knows?
It doesn't count towards anything.
Yeah. Anyway, I like seeing Maki up. I liked
Mhm.
the end of this match for some reason, the opposite of Lex.
Yeah.
Didn't like the post-match shenanigans. Yeah, the women's division still needs some work. You need to start treating it like the men's division.
Yeah.
Actually, give it some proper storylines. Like the men's one, you've got these big money matches and stuff going on in the men's division. So you got like promos coming out where Penta's ripping into Cody. You've got Scorpio turning on the end of these matches. Like you've got these big faction storylines like the Inner Circle and stuff. Start doing that with the women. Just start treating them that same way, and you're grand. But instead, you treat them. It's almost like they weirdly treat the men with storylines, and they treat the women as just this person's now the number one contender, so therefore they're challenging.
Matches.
It's
matches.
Just the opposite. It's like one you do storytelling, one you just do matches. It's.
I will say that it is great, at least for the benefit of the doubt for AEW, that at least they have, at least they got some of the Japanese talent back. You know, because I know this was a very, very big factor. As again in the last 365 days, I say this because today's the anniversary of the global pandemic. But yeah, you still need some decent stories. I mean, tournaments are great. Lex is a big fan of tournaments. You know, tournaments are cool, but I mean, like, yeah, Pete's right. At the end of the day, there is nothing. There is not. You need to reel us in. You need to give us a reason to get. I mean, like, not that the matches are not bad, but you need to give us a more reason to be more into this, right? So, but
and not to mention, tournaments. They've had men's tournaments before, but the women's tournament, some matches are on YouTube, some matches are on TV, some matches are on Bleacher Report, some matches are on. It was just all over the place. It felt like they don't get the same amount of the same amount of focus as the men do. And that one tweet that Kenny Omega real quick put out saying, if you guys want to see more women, women's, stuff, you guys have to, let your voices be heard and everything. And it's like, yeah, but is that really our job? Is that really our job to showcase?
People have let their voices be heard.
I was gonna say, I mean,
exactly.
like
people have said, start treating the women with respect. The reason people don't want to see the women's division is because you don't treat them like a proper division.
I know
that's the reason. It's
not our fault.
And I know we don't talk about AEW too often on the pod. I know, but we do talk about the pay-per-views when they come around. But out of the 4 shows that we've done on the podcast, when it comes to fallouts or predictions, we've always talked about this. What's with the women's division? It's always a topic at every fallout that we do. I don't get it. So yes, Kenny, our voices haven't been heard, but it is what it is. We're gonna drop it here because we do got to move on because there's still a lot more to talk about. Again, I thought there wasn't gonna be much said, and you guys brought up excellent points, so I stand corrected. But I don't think there's going to be much said about the next match. I don't think so. Miro, Kip Sabian, best friends, Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor. It was a 7-minute match. That was longer than I thought in hindsight. That felt shorter. Miro just a dominant raging beast, which is what we wanted to see in WWE, so we're getting it. But I do agree. I think it was said in the group chat that we're in. I think it was said in our chat, or was said elsewhere that, or maybe it was with my friends that I was watching Revolution, was that it's time for Miro to get out of this thing. Like he already. I mean, I agreed. I forgot who said it. I do agree that it was a great introduction for Miro as the best man, as for Kip Sabian and all that, but at one point, you want to see why he went there in the first place, which was to be a bigger, dominant solo beast, which we saw hints of that in the match. But I would prefer if I saw more of it. But again, that's just me. Pete, let's start with you.
This is the exact Miro I want to see. Brutally beat down a guy backstage. If you want to do him as heel Miro, this is the type of Miro I want to see. Obviously, it's face Miro as well. But badass, kick the crap out of people. No one pretty much got offense in on him in this match. Most of the offense against them went against Kip, which is great. This match was what I wanted. I loved the backstage bit. And obviously next week we've got this games machine thing. And I think that actually might be where Jose gets what he wants. And I think we might see them lose this match because I think they're going to give the win back to Orange Cassidy. I think Kip will get pinned, and Miro might go apeshit and smash him through every games machine around that ring and just go mad. Well, that's how I would book it anyway. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Miro start to get a bit of a bigger presence. He needs to drop the games gimmick anyway, at least, as a bare minimum. I don't really mind him sticking with Kip, but the gaming thing just isn't working. But this match did what it had to do, did what I wanted it to do. It was fine.
Lex?
Yeah, I agree. The backstage, starting at backstage part, that definitely grabbed my interest a bit more than it would have if they had just done it normally. So that was a smart move on their part. I think Orange Cassidy hit him with like one orange punch, and that was and he like fell off the stage, and that was like the only bump he took really in the whole match. And that is the right thing to do, especially when you have guys like Kip Sabian, Orange Cassidy, smaller guys. Miro's a much bigger guy, so that is sort of how you should do it. It did feel very short, and that about the length it probably should have been. But this feud's been going on for like what feels like months, and I feel like this. If this has been the end of it, I would have been fine with that. You had Miro knocking Penelope Ford off the apron, just blatantly just shoving her off, like not even caring. So, I mean, you could build something off of that. You don't have Kip be like, dude, what the fuck? Why'd you do that to my wife? And you just do it there. But, of course, got to have one more match. And, of course, it's going to be a gimmicky video games all over the freaking – I don't even know how that's going to work. Video games all over the ringside area match. I don't know what that's even going to look like. It's just weird to me because, everyone, fans and AEW themselves, have been pushing the narrative of, ever since Orange Cassidy's big match with Jericho, he's the main event star now. And it's like, okay, then why is he doing, orange juice matches and video game, arcade machine matches and things like that? I feel like if they wanted to be a main event star, they'd probably treat him a bit more like one. But I would have preferred this be the end of it. But, they're going to have one more match. 50-50 booking, whatever. Have the good guys win at the end, I'm sure, and then hopefully have Miro, get rid of.
If it finishes with Miro killing Kip,
I'll forget it.
It's worth it.
Yeah,
it's worth it.
Whatsoever.
Yeah, no more. Please, best gamer on all of Twitch. That's not the Miro that I liked in WWE. So we'll see where we go. We'll see where we go.
All right, let's move on to the big money match. And of course, I mean, when I first heard it, I was trying to figure out what is a big money match, and the winner receives the loser's 2020 first quarter earnings. Hangman defeated Hardy, and what I said in the group was, I just think it's hilarious that Matt Hardy has yet another kid on the way, and he just lost his first quarter earnings. That's rough. That's rough. I mean, I know Hardy and his wife could have used it, and he lost it all. He's lost the first quarter earnings. So nice going, Matt. Nice going. Good luck with your new kit. I thought it was a fine match. I thought. I mean, it took me a while to realize that Hardy was a heel in this match. I mean, it's. I know it's weird to say, but again, because to me, like Hardy's always like that. I don't want to say happy-go-lucky face, but I guess what?
Since when? Like half his career, whenever he's not been with Jeff, he's usually been a snivelly heel.
Really? No, I don't see it. I'm blind, but I mean, like I do like that. I guess I'm just happy that Matt reinvented himself again.
Like 4 times since he joined AEW.
And he's now broke Matt Hardy.
Haha.
Yeah. So again, I thought the match was fine. Obviously Hangman's just fantastic, and I always love a good Hangman match. I enjoy seeing Hangman on my screen. And again, I will say, at the same time, this match, I was tuning in here because I got a little bit busy, but again, I got most of it. And again, I was satisfied with the match for what it was. Because I also feel like I just have more points to say on the other matches that are coming up. But Lex, will start with you on this.
Yeah, I have to assume that before, of course, tragedy struck, I have to assume that the build to this match was, instead of Hangman versus Big Money Matt, I'm guessing the original plan was to have Hangman Page versus Brody Lee because of the Dark Order stuff going on, which very unfortunate, of course, we didn't get that. But I think this was a good enough, it worked for what it was. It was, good guy versus the bad guy. They did their thing. The good guy cheated. He had his goons out there to help him win. He was being, just being a classic kind of heel. And then then Hangman's friends, of course, in the Dark Order come out to help him out. They put him back. They lift him back on the apron like a concert. He hits the buckshot lariat to win. It was a feel good, good guy triumphs in the end, match. I know a lot of people say that Hangman's going to be the one to beat Kenny Omega to be the new champion. I do feel like this was a good enough win for him, but I do feel like there is a lot of work to do still before he gets to that point where where he is right now. I don't see him being the guy to finally kick out of the one-winged angel, like some people think he's going to do. He definitely still has some work to do before he's back at that top peak again. But this was good for what it was. Like I said, it was a good feel-good win for the good guy. We had Matt Hardy on Dynamite this week say that don't worry, he has safes all over the place full of money. He'll be fine. And now he's hired the Butcher and the Blade to be part of his little group now. I guess because Eddie Kingston's now a good guy. They've just been foisted off from him to Matt Hardy for some reason. So I guess we'll see where that goes. But yeah, no. For the match itself though was good for what it was. So I'm happy to see Hangman get a big win.
Pete.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything. This match, you're not going to get a 5-star classic out of Matt Hardy nowadays. So it was good. It was a good match. It was enjoyable. It was a really good feel-good moment with the Dark Order coming out. Because weirdly, one of the storylines I'd be most invested in this entire thing is just Hangman Page joining, or at least becoming friends with the Dark Order, as he put it. The real big money is the friends we made along the way. So,
it's an anime reference. The AEW oddities. That's what they are.
They had apparently he's broken in debt already as well because the Dark Order spent all this money on.
They spent all of Matt Hardy's money on lawnmowers again.
On being the elite, they basically spent all of Matt Hardy's money.
If you watch Being the Elite, I'm sure you enjoyed that.
Yeah, he's bought himself a lawnmower at least, so got that.
And
but we left one of the guys off. They didn't let one of the guys on the lawnmower.
Yes.
That's just bullying.
Poor Alan Angel's the reject of the group, I guess.
But in terms of Page getting that main event push, I'm pretty sure they're waiting for the crowds to actually really truly elevate him, and then he is going to be that big fan favorite push from mid card to upper card when they have that fan support behind him.
Which is interesting you say, because I mean, I believe Revolution was one of the bigger crowds they've had since the pandemic.
It was still only like 1,000 people.
Yeah.
They still gave him a big win. They still gave him. Well, they gave him
of course, absolutely. But I think it's just funny that you say that, because I mean, given that they're in Florida, Florida doesn't care about any COVID-related things. They'll probably go to Texas or Mississippi next, as they're the only two states that
when he wins that title, there's going to be 20,000-30,000 people.
Which would be great. Would be great. I think I if anything, I commend the patience for AEW, but I at the same time, you have to ask yourself at one point, how long do you wait? Like, how long is too long, right? Because
the stories are still intriguing. That's mine. Like, because I've enjoyed the Dark Order thing. It's obviously a middle ground story that is a placeholder story while other things are happening.
Oh, absolutely.
I've enjoyed it. It's been well told. It's been interesting. It's been fun. Jose doesn't understand that the most connivingly evil bugger on Dynamite on a weekly basis is a heel, but like Matt Hardy having actual hired. He's been paying people to beat people up. Like, that's how cowardly heel he's been.
I guess that's heelish.
And he declared war on the Dark Order, the good guys on all the shows. So there you go.
And I don't mind him having hired goons in Butcher and Blade as well. He's got, like, I just don't mind that type of thing. It's fine.
It's very out of nowhere.
Let's move on. I want to move on because this is definitely one of the bigger talking points of the whole thing. And of course, I'm talking about the I'm laughing for a reason. The face of the Revolution ladder match to become the #1 contender for the AEW TNT Championship, in which a brass ring, a literal brass ring, was hanging high above the ring. Six competitors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 competitors, which featured a debut of Ethan Page. I know a lot of people were wondering who that mystery person was, to the point where people were zooming in on the graphic and said, "Hey, I think that's a beard. It has to be somebody with a beard." Bravo, social media. Bravo for figuring out our bearded friend. Whatever. It makes me social media. social media just makes me cringe sometimes. That's all. It just makes me cringe. Why the hell did somebody just play the who's playing? We'll get to that in a bit. I just want to say that people on social media really need to calm down and stop trying to look for the smallest details to try to figure something out.
Yeah.
It might. I mean, I don't know whose silhouette that was. I don't know if
it was a generic thing. I didn't think it was anything.
I don't know if it was done intentionally or not, but oh sweet Jesus, really? Anyways, yes, that's what a lot of the memes were about after the match. I don't know if you people heard it, but the brass ring looked like a ring from Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful, and I was really hoping that. I know a lot of people were hoping that the sound effect kicked off when whoever claimed it, the ring. Aside from that, the match was great. I loved it. It's a ladder match, six men. Really big fan, of course. Cody teased everybody thinking that he was severely hurt. I was a little worked. I'm like, is Cody actually in pain or not? And then, of course, he came running back, and then doing all this stuff. I said, like, nothing happened. So props to him. But I liked it. I'm happy for Scorpio Sky. I know he lost this past Wednesday, but still good spot for him to get that recognition, to get that opportunity. So I'm a big fan. And just, I don't know, the brass ring. Awesome. Pete?
Yeah, obviously all the Sonic references are coming out. It's not surprising. Like it looks so stupid. I'm gonna be honest. That ring, it looks
like an inner tube.
I just don't even know what to even make of that. I'm surprised you didn't have like Scorpio Sky going like Scorpio's the name, Speed's the games. Like pointing down at everyone going, "You're too slow." Just all the references, but I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the stupid brass ring. I don't know if it was something else. Like this felt like a very good ladder match that I never got into as much as other very good ladder matches. Like I still thought it was a very good match. I thought the spots were great. Some looked absolutely brutal.
They normally do with AEW, from what I know.
God, like the one Scorpio took the knee to the broken ladder outside. That looked great. There was the Ego's Edge by Ethan Page to who took that? Was it Max Caster? Who I think took that to the ladder.
I think so. I don't know. There was also like sometimes there's too many people. Sometimes it's hard to know.
Canadian Destroyer to the ladder on the outside. Obviously,
that looked.
I remember that.
Like so many great
intense.
And I don't know if the other thing is that's making me look back in a lot bigger is obviously Scorpio lost straight away on the Wednesday, which made it not mean that much. I think the heel turn was needed. I think it's a great turn for Scorpio. I think it really suits him down to the bones. He looked so evil when he put that lock in on Darby Allin on Wednesday. Like the look on his face was brilliant. But no, it was a really fun match. The Cody selling added to it a little bit. I thought something just didn't quite get me as invested as other great ladder matches, despite this feeling like a great match at the same time. So I'm not sure. I still think, like I said, still think it was an excellent match. Just didn't quite have that same wow factor of other ladder matches I've seen.
Lex?
Well, me personally, I'm very surprised that Scorpio Sky lost on Wednesday, just because you hold that ring, you're invincible until you drop it. So I mean, I guess he didn't. Yeah, there you go. I guess he didn't. I guess he just lost the ring, so he died. But anyway, yeah, I do agree with Pete. I did feel like it was. When I was watching it, yeah, it did feel like I got like a good ladder match. AEW does love their ladder matches, especially on pay-per-views. But again, yeah, I don't know if it was the people involved in it or what it was exactly. But I also didn't get as invested into it. My other thing was I love the fact that a surprising number of people thought that Ethan Page, who of course was the surprise entrant in the match, was the big Hall of Fame worthy signing that they had teased. People thought that he was the big big
they
show.
They differentiated it too.
I know they did, but people actually thought that it was. I was like, okay, what? Yeah, I don't know how people messed that up. I don't know how they messed that up.
I think they ignored it because it was said about 80 times. I'm like, guys, they said into the Hall of Fame signing or the Hall of Fame worthy signing is not in a ladder match. Guys, I think he's going to be in the ladder match. Dumbasses, go on.
Yeah, no.
Stupid.
People are dumb. But Ethan Page, people know him from Impact. He recently did a match where he fought himself in a cartoon like kung fu movie match where he died on Impact, and that was his farewell. So now he's on AEW. So I'm sure it's only a matter of time until we see him as Karate Man on AEW. You guys probably know what I'm talking about, but anyway.
I do.
Okay. But anyway, there were some great spots. I wasn't a huge fan of the one where Lance Archer had to go be on his hands and knees for like 30 seconds and just like wait until I think that was the ego's edge on the ladder that squished him or whatever. He had to just like wait for a long time. I'm sure it hurt a lot, but he just looked like a bit of a goof just waiting for it. But yeah, the Scorpius guy winning, that is good for him. I feel like he hasn't been doing much lately, so I'm glad to see him in this good spot. And then, of course, yes, he did lose to Darby Allin in a very, like fluky kind of way. So I'm sure there's going to be more matches in the future, like a bigger feud there. He already was kind of turning heel. If you watch like the vignettes for the match, he was kind of acting like an arrogant, like I'm the best, whatever heel. So, and now I guess this fully, solidifies it. So I'm looking forward to seeing, what more comes out of that for him. He's definitely a really great wrestler. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next. And his match with Darby was very good, I thought. But no, yeah, like P, I thought that was a good match, but again, I just didn't really get into it as much as I felt like I could have. I don't know. I can't say for sure why, but yeah.
Just before as for Lance Archer, down on all fours, as weird as that is to say, if you suddenly pick a random point in the video and just hear that, sorry,
it's exactly what you thought it was.
Exactly, it happens. We've seen it in WWE too, and it's unfortunate. When it comes to those spots in general in wrestling, I do think the person at fault is the person that has to set up the top, that has to execute the spot for the person.
It was in this one as well, if I remember correctly, because I think they actually missed the initial spot they were going for, and then he suddenly had to change it into a power bomb. So it's like the first spot didn't work. Oh crap, we need to do something else. Quick, do this one instead.
Yes,
which is fine. It's on the spot. You've got to try and come up with something. But
well, as we learn later tonight, as we learn later in the show, AEW is not the best when it comes to improvisation. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, when it comes to those spots, I don't blame the person in position because they're in queue.
They're on queue. Yeah, what can he do? Yeah,
they're on queue. They're ready to be heard. Again, as weird as that sounds, but again, for what it was, I just thought it was a great match. And at the end of the day,
he's on hands and knees and ready to be slammed. It's fine.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Atkinson. At the end of the day, hail the ring. Hail the Sonic Ring. And they've had hilarious stuff up there. There was a poker chip at one point, right? It was that double Gotta appreciate these random items. Before we move on to the last two matches, I almost forgot to write this down to talk about. But it is important. And of course, Lex brought up the Hall of Fame. The World Hall of Fame, more than, of course, people were speculating who it was. Some people were saying it could be Brock Lesnar. It could be Ronda Rousey. I heard
it could be CM Punk.
It could be CM Punk, and then it was said, okay, it's definitely a match. So Ronda was out of the equation. It's Christian Cage, good old Christian Cage. I have to say, now I know in the group chat I was very against it. I was saying that if and our good old friend Nick caught me out of my hypocrisy again, because I loved it. I just accidentally do that all the damn time in the group chat, accidentally be a hypocrite, not unintentionally. But because I said that if it's Christian, I'm gonna riot because it's Christian, and I just saw the Rumble spot was very special. It was a great moment in January when Christian came out at 24, giving that big hug to Edge, and for me, I'm like, okay, I hope that this is something that we see because it means he's cleared. B, it means he's back in WWE, and maybe I don't know if he would be in a supporting role for Edge again. But maybe he could find some other spots to do. I know people were teasing. I know some people were saying, "Hey, have him against Christian, have him against Big E at WrestleMania, and have him win the IC title," which I would have been 100% down for. In saying that, this is a good spot. I do think this is a good spot for him at the end of the day because maybe there wasn't anything in WWE, and I think a lot of people do have to respect that. I thought there was, but maybe there wasn't. They just couldn't come to an agreement. And in terms of
I think the bigger issue is Vince didn't think there was
probably as well, right? Mm-hmm. Which if you go on with the meme of Christian and Edge, that's always the case. That Vince always saw more in Edge, and then all of a sudden Christian just way below, right? Which is unfortunate because Christian does have the talent. But I mean, like I said, I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he has a spot. I'm happy that they teased the world's title spot. They're not wasting any time for Christian, for him to potentially get involved in that. Of course, I know Omega has some stuff down the road with Impact and whatnot, but I'm happy. I'm also sad because, again, I would have loved to see him walk down that big pirate ship aisle at WrestleMania in a few weeks. So it is what it is, but I hope he does well. I hope he's safe. I hope he can still show that he's got it, because I know he does. I know he definitely can. I know injuries were bugging him, so I really hope they don't come around this time. Pete, let's start with you on this.
Like, in the words of obviously the immortal Todd Grisham, it's Christian. So, like his other grand return and grand debut he did that everyone called the most underwhelming commentary response ever. It's Christian. But I can't believe people are like calling this like a disappointment and underwhelming and stuff. It's like they say it was a Hall of Fame worthy talent. He's a Hall of Fame worthy talent. It's almost
people
like
were saying people were disappointed.
Yeah, genuinely, like people are like going, "Oh, really? This is such a letdown." It's like 2 months ago, we didn't think this guy was ever going to wrestle
Gonna come
again.
back.
We still weren't sure he was even cleared following the Rumble. Like, to even call this even slightly, I popped like a motherfucker when Christian came out in that night. I was like, yes, it's Christian. Fantastic. Great stuff. Just because you had some stupid idiot thoughts that it was going to be The Rock. For
Who said The Rock?
Twitter. But like people saying The Rock, people thought it was going to be Brock, people thought it was going to be Cena.
I was going to say Cena.
Batista.
Like obviously that Punk went, like the Punk rumors did the rounds again. Just because you were that stupid and idiotic that you think one of these people is coming out, and that they would do this not on the grandest stage and not as a massive thing. You're like, what's wrong with like Christian's like as great a person as you were ever going to get in that situation. Christian's fantastic. Yeah. We didn't think he was going to wrestle again 2 months ago. He's a great technical worker. Like, he's not going to get used that well by WWE. The only push they ever gave him was when Edge got injured. So, like,
which is sad. I mean, it took Edge's retirement for WWE. Okay, Christian, let's get that feel good moment. Here you go. Get kicked in the nuts for your title.
Like, do people genuinely believe Christian's going to be a worse signing than like Batista? Even in that situation, like I know you say like star power, etc. But in terms of actually putting on a great product, Christian's great. Like, give him a proper chance and stuff. On Wednesday, they used him perfectly as well. They teased hitting a kill switch, but didn't actually do it. Brilliant. They put him in like like the potential title scene without doing too much of a giveaway there. They haven't had him do these big promos and stuff yet. No, brilliant. I absolutely love this. I love it's Christian. It was who I was wanting it to be. When all the like rumors were speculating, when I saw like the realistic options, because obviously it wasn't going to be The Rock. Like when you saw the realistic options of who it could be, this, in my opinion, was the best option, and it was. And people saying, "Oh, AEW underdelivered." No, they promised a Hall of Fame worthy talent who's a great technical wrestler, and like people love him. Like I'm pretty sure that ticks all the boxes for Christian. So no, because people are idiots, they over bigged up their own expectations by thinking it was going to be bloody Brock Lesnar. And then they go, oh, it's Christian. No, Christian, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
But before I go to you, Lex, I have to add on to Pete's point in terms of like, what I was saying in our chat was at the end of the day, this is going to be subjective. If people set their standards so high, they're going to be pissed off, right? I mean, I heard Rob Van Dam as something realistic, which would have been okay.
That's where I set my standards. I was expecting someone like
Rob Van Dam, right? But and unfortunately, that's just such a problem with this thing. I mean, I know a lot of people can really scrutinize AEW for those kind of things. I mean, not like somebody to my right here does that, but I'm just saying, yeah, who? I'm just saying that, subjective, like it was going to be subjective. So then I think people were just probably just want to say it was bad just for the heck of it, just so like they can feel angry. Two, he's going to have a lot to prove. He's going to have to prove a lot. He got in amazing shape, even before the Rumble. He has somewhat of a chip on his shoulder to tell the world that, hey, listen, I still got this. All right, I'm cleared. let me show you what I missed out in the last X years. So we'll see. Let's go to your thoughts on the signing.
So my bar, I guess, was even lower than Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam's great, obviously, despite what he's been doing on Impact, because I saw what appeared to be a leaked screenshot from someone on Snapchat or Instagram or somewhere that had a graphic on the screen. It was partly cut off, but you could tell it said Ken Shamrock, which
Pretty sure he just said The Rock. That's what people.
Yeah, exactly. But so that's what I was almost expecting. I was expecting Ken Shamrock because he does check those boxes as well. I showed that to our friend Mike, and he was livid, and he was trying to get like a refund on his pay-per-view. Even before,
really?
Yeah, that's what he told me. Even before like it even like happened, he'd already like he told his friend. His friend was mad too. So I'm glad it wasn't him. I guess looking back, yeah.
Jeez.
No.
Like,
come on, buddy.
I will be honest. If it was Ken Shamrock, I would have been disappointed.
Yeah, I understand.
Probably.
I understand that.
Probably, yeah.
That's fair.
Sure, I guess. I mean,
but yeah, like you said about what Christian has to prove, the first graphic we saw of his on the screen was outwork everyone, and and there's some pretty impressive workers on AEW, objectively some very great workers on AEW, and for him to say he's going to outwork all of them, that's definitely he's saying that he's not messing around. He's here to do work and to freaking prove that he has one last great run in him. And I know he was on your Canadian brethren Renee Paquette's or Renee Good, what you want to call her podcast recently. I didn't listen to it, but my girl did, and she told me that he didn't really address exactly why he chose to go to WWE over AEW. He just said, he wanted to explore all of his available options, which does make sense. But I could also see it being a thing where maybe, like you said, maybe there were no plans for him. Maybe the only plan was he's going to have this one Rumble moment, maybe do something with Edge at WrestleMania or something. But besides that, there may have been no plans for him. So
the comments I heard was that they didn't really want him to wrestle that much in WWE, and he wanted to show that he could still properly go in the ring. And he actually called up Tony Khan himself.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
That way around. He actually called Tony and said, I'm interested in working for you. Are you interested in having me, in essence? And they were like, well, yeah, of course we are.
Like, I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Idiots. Of course we're interested in having you over here.
So yeah, of course, the guy gets into tremendous shape at his age. Some other Canadian wrestlers probably take note of that. And he wanted to have one last.
That bad.
That's what Tyler said. Oh my god. But he wanted to have what probably will be the last run of his career, in a top spot, and to prove that he could like Edge, and to prove that he could still do it. And so I don't begrudge him at all coming to AEW. I think, given the great run he had in TNA for the most part, he definitely has shown he can shine in other places outside WWE. And not only that, but they actually used at least a version of his TNA entrance theme, which I found out was actually took snippets from an Evanescence song, which that was kind of cool. But anyway, this is definitely a really good signing for AEW. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. I was very surprised that he was put in this main event, potentially world title spot right away. So it definitely shows that, like I said, he's not here to play around. He's here to, really show what he can do. Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega, that could be a tremendous match. To Pete's point about people, their expectations going too high. That's just, wrestling. That's just wrestling fans in general. I almost feel like, they expect the world, and then when they don't get what they were wanting, they, complain about it. But I won't, of all the things I could complain about on this show, I won't complain about Christian Cage at all. He's a great talent. I'm sure he's a guy, he's going to do some great stuff in AEW. I look forward to seeing it. Yeah, not much else I can say.
For its fact, his first match is going to be him, Moxley, and Kingston versus Bullet Club USA.
Maybe
that's probably going to be the first match.
And just to put the final touches on this conversation, because a lot of great points were made. I will say that I wouldn't be surprised to give WWE the benefit of the doubt, which I know people don't like doing that, but to give them the benefit of the doubt, they have a history where they're very, very skeptical of clearing people. I mean, rightfully so, given their history. And with somebody like Christian, who had a lot of insane concussion problems, right? And it was also one of the biggest factors as to why Daniel Bryan wasn't cleared until he eventually got the full clear, right? I can't blame them in that sense, But if somebody feels like they're ready to go, they're probably ready to go. But you just know that WWE just wants to be as safe as possible, and you just don't want maybe history repeating themselves or something. But again, it is what it is. I'm happy for Christian. I hope he does well. And that is a T-shirt.
Just don't have him do any suplexes off of scaffolding through tables on concrete.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. Let's move on. We're gonna move on here because we are slowly running. Not that we have any time limit, but we're slowly going over. The street fight, the cinematic street fight. Darby Allin and Sting taking on Team Taz, Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. I guess I should have realized it was a cinematic match. It is the second last match because obviously they had to set. It was clear that the match was there because, and especially it was cinematic because they had to set up the ring for the main event. The commentary was annoying. The music was off-putting. If you're gonna do a cinematic match, weirdly enough, and something I didn't think I would say, this is where you have to take something out of WWE's playbook. It's weird to say it. The match was fine itself. Darby Allin's freaking crazy, jumping out of windows and whatnot. That's nothing new. There's a lot of nasty bumps towards Darby Allin. For Sting, I guess it's a good spot. Cinematic, go easy on somebody who was wrestling for the first time in a while back, if you want to call it a wrestling match, I guess. But for what it was entertaining. There was a lot of Darby Allin, again, like I said, looks like he got went through the freaking ringer in that match because the guy will say yes to anything in terms of pain. He likes pain from what it seems. He's okay with getting severe hits to the head. Sting, I gotta give props to Sting. He still wants to do it. Power to him. But again, Darby Allin just for me is my MVP just because the guy decides to jump out of a freaking window. I hate looking out my window. The man decides to jump out of one. So props to him. Lex, let's go with you.
Yeah, it was another cinematic match. It probably was the right move to do considering Sting's condition. It was called a street fight, but at no point were they fighting in a street. But that's neither here nor there.
When is the last street fight that happened in a street?
Thank you. Throw me a bone, Mirza.
There have been plenty. Come on.
Every street fight is basically just a hardcore match.
But usually in a ring, not in a random warehouse. I know.
In reality, what is the difference between a hardcore match, a no holds barred, and a street fight?
Falls count anywhere match.
Depends on which company, I guess.
Extreme rules match.
But anyway, they did find a really nice location. I'll give them that to shoot their short film. The entrance for Darby and Sting being basically like a music video where they had a bunch of Sting and Darby druids come out. That was something. Having it be all black and white like freaking Sin City or something like that. That was interesting. Taz's son, I see why he wears that sweatshirt. It looks like he was a 16-year-old with tattoos. Anyway, no, they definitely, I'm sure everything was done very safely. I'm sure, when Darby jumped off a thing and put Brian Cage through a massive, whatever that was, I'm sure it was done very safely.
Of course, but still,
yeah,
ouch.
Ouch indeed. But for what it was, they did it was good. I'd say it wasn't my favorite cinematic match, but. And I agree with you. The commentary, you didn't need that. You didn't need we all know that from any adult can tell that this was not happening live. This was pre-recorded as hell and edited as hell. The music should have given it away. It was entertaining for what it was. Sting, getting the win with the Scorpion Death Drop. It was when I was at the bar, a lot of people at the bar were excited to see Sting because a lot of them are older and grew up with Sting, so they were happy to see him, in the ring again. So that was cool to see. But yeah, no, it was what I expected it to be pretty much, and it was the fun, just like I said, short film where four guys beat the hell out of each other and did all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't know how Darby Allin did that massive thing, jumped out a window, and he's back three days later to defend his title. I don't know what the man. I don't know what the man is made of.
Yeah, Darby Allin does not. Does not care.
Yes, it was a fun. It was a fun little thing.
Pete,
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure all of AEW cinematic matches have had commentary.
They did.
Did the Matt Hardy one?
Elite Deletion definitely had it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the dentist office one had it. I'm not,
God.
and I'm pretty sure I might be wrong on the Stadium Stampede. I can't remember that one.
No, that one
Stadium
definitely
Stampede definitely did. Yeah, definitely did.
But that was happening live, though.
Yeah.
Clearly.
So I think all their cinematic matches have actually had commentary on them, but
they may have.
Bad thing is debatable, but I'm pretty sure they all have.
Yeah, sorry, there you go. All
right. I love this, but I think it's mostly nostalgia from seeing Sting. But
there you go.
Yeah, probably.
Look, I really enjoyed it. It's definitely not the best cinematic match. It's nothing on Stadium Stampede. It's nothing on the Boneyard match. It's nothing on Firefly Funhouse match. It's not in the league of those. I'll probably put in a similar league to maybe Money in the Bank or the Elite Deletion. I put it in like that next tier.
Oh yeah, no,
matches. In terms of, it was good. It was great seeing Sting again. Like, obviously they gave him a win. I've got a bit of an echo. I don't know if anyone else has.
I think it's coming out of this guy over here. Hang on.
All right.
No, I have no idea. I have no idea. Go on.
I just suddenly got a bit. It's weird hearing your own voice.
It is. It really is.
No, like I just really enjoyed it. It was fairly short. I think it was only about 10-15 minutes long. Lex basically stole what I was going to say. I thought the entrance was a bit like a Pink Floyd music video when it came out. But like some of those spots, the one that made me laugh the most was just throwing the bat out the window. I don't even know why. Just lobbing the bat down and Sting catching it and starting wailing on people.
Oh yeah,
that was kind of impressive.
I wonder how many takes that took.
Probably one because they're badasses.
Yeah, exactly. But the biggest spot, like I know it wasn't the end spot, but like the one where he jumped out the window was obviously great. And that the one that made me wince and that was the one where he got thrown through like the window.
Yeah, the glass.
It was like the glass thing against the wall. And they basically both one grabbed the arms, one grabbed the legs, and they just launched him through that. And then his back.
And the frame like hit him on the head.
Yeah, that's.
I was like, bloody hell, that's horrible.
Pain.
Yeah. I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. And now Sting's going into a feud with Lance Archer, apparently. So we'll see what's going on there. Okay. And I cannot wait for a Sting and Jake Roberts promo off in 2021.
Good God.
It's going to be amazing.
Wow.
Well, I want to put a bow on that because, not to end it abruptly, but because this is the biggest thing that we're going to be talking about for a while. It is time to talk about the main event of the evening. The exploding barbed wire match for the AEW World Championship. Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley. The rules are simple. Barbed wire surrounds the ring. Anytime that you made contact with barbed wire, it was going to explode. There were also 3 pits of barbed wire ready to detonate as soon as contact was made surrounding the ring. If there is no winner after 30 minutes, all explosives will detonate. And cause a big explosion. Of course, I'm going to start off with before that moment, I really enjoyed the match. And this is coming from somebody who didn't grow up seeing this. Since 2001, I have never heard of an explosion of an exploding barbed wire match until this was announced. And then you look at the history that they did in Japan, and it's just freaking nuts. The touching the ropes, pyro goes off. I mean, whether the pyro's close or the barbed wire's close to the ropes or not, the fact that it pops in your ear is gonna hurt. That is 100% gonna hurt. I thought the match was like Scott Light. I thought it was brilliant. I thought the match was really entertaining. The spot outside of to one of the first platforms outside of the ring was crazy. And whether it was real barbed wire or not, because I know, Lex, I believe you were questioning it at one point.
We'll get into that. Yeah.
If it was real or not.
As well.
Sorry?
I've said that before as well. But,
right. I mean, it still looked great graphically, as weird as that's weird to say. The barbed wire explosive bat was crazy. The Moxley being creative, putting his foot on the ropes to kick out and let it trigger. Boom. I thought that was fantastic. Unique way to kick out. Obviously, never seen that before. I liked it. I really, really liked it for what it was. Because again, and I think the other thing too, I think people need to realize, in my opinion, is that this is 2021. Everything has to be safer. Everything needs to be, as controlled, and yet while trying to deliver on the expectation that people have, you also want to be as safe as possible. Of course, diving with your back on real barbed wire would have been really, really bad. A bat to the face with barbed wire and pyro also sounds really deadly in hindsight, but I guess thankfully they did it as safe as they could. Aside from that, but again, like I really, really liked it. I know a lot of people were joking around. Oh well, Renee's gonna be a single mother. It's just horrible. And then of course the ending, the big, the match ended before the 30 minutes, but they're still counting down. Eddie Kingston running in to protect the guy that he wanted to kill, just like at the pay-per-view before. I think I want to focus on the match first, and then we'll talk about the explosion. I think that's safe to say. Lex, I'm going to save you for last because I know you have a lot to say. Pete, let's start with you on the match. First.
So the match I thought was a great match in terms of how exploding barbed wire death matches can actually go. This is maybe the most psychology I've ever seen in a death match, because they're not commonly known for having psychology in a death match. It's usually just, let's see if we can make these people die. Like, in terms of the barbed wire, the way I think it is actually barbed wire, but it's not the type you get in the military. So, like, it will catch on your stuff, and it will, if you rub your arm along it, it's probably going to cut into you if you, like, literally do that along the barbed wire.
Yeah.
But, obviously.
But it's not one that if you fall on, it's definitely 100% going to get stuck in your skin and pierce and rip you to shreds.
So, like, maybe not as sharp as one might expect.
It's not even necessarily as sharp. It's just like the barbs are like more spaced out. They're less tangly. And
okay.
I think it was like 2-pronged.
Stick to you as much as well, if I remember correctly. So it's like, so it is real, but it's one that's not going to severely injure you. If you think about people like Sabu in the past, where he's like ripped a gash in his arm that he pretty much had to tape together mid-match. Like,
Jesus Christ.
And that's not what I want to see in this day. I want to say, ooh, that looks painful, that looks nasty, but he's not seriously injured, is kind of what I want. I don't want these people to actually be putting like career-threatening injuries on the line. The actual explosions, the one to the outside, not great, but the actual spot itself was brutal, so pass. But the ones in the ring, like the one where he hit the rope early on, the first angle looked pretty good. The kick out of the, like, not the kick out, the foot on the rope of the one-winged angel, that looked great in terms of just breaking up the pin. And the one from the bat looked brilliant. When he hit him over the head with the bat and he exploded out the bat, I thought, excellent.
That was creative as heck, yeah.
And I will say I thought this was a fantastic match. And if this pay-per-view had ended after the match, obviously there would have been a bit of disappointment of, oh, we didn't get to see the big kaboom. But if the pay-per-view had just ended post-match, as in, I think everyone would have been going, oh, that was a very good pay-per-view. Let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. Lex, here we go.
Here we go. Okay, I'm going to agree with you guys on a few things.
Okay.
As someone who is not the biggest fan of matches like this, I was, especially on like a nationally syndicated cable TV show in America. I thought this was, going into this, I did not have high hopes that I was going to enjoy this, and for the most part, I did enjoy it. I thought that, like you said, it was a very psychology-based exploding barbed wire death match. Instead of just seeing how many different ways they can smash each other into things and horribly maim themselves, like in CZW or something like that. They did build to it. They did like tease going into the barbed wire, and then they built it up. They built to the moment where someone actually did go into it, and therefore it meant more. I do agree with you that the explosives on the ropes did look good. I thought those were those worked for what they were doing. But then you get into the barbed wire debacle, I guess. Well, debacle for me. I haven't heard much. Surprisingly, I haven't heard many other people on Twitter, at least, or social media, talk about this aspect that I guess I noticed. I also noticed this in that, Lights Out match they did at Full Gear, Moxley and Omega, when they pulled out of nowhere a giant like barbed wire apparatus for them to like get suplexed onto, and then they get off of it and there's like barely any like noticeable scratches on their backs. I see that and I'm like, okay. And then so I was suspecting about the same as far as barbed wire goes for this match, and I was pretty much correct. When they go through the big barbed wire boards, their bodies are not maimed, they're not bleeding all over the place. When he did the paradigm shift off the apron through the freaking big barbed wire board on the outside, and explosives that are like on each side of the barbed wire boards and nowhere near them just go poof. That would the spot itself looked gnarly, but then the explosives kind of made it look less gnarly. And then the bat was nice too. But it is the barbed wire thing that kind of, I guess, took it away from me, because I don't know if it was. It definitely wasn't fake barbed wire, because there were marks on them clearly. It might have been like 2-pronged or something like that. I don't know how barbed wire works.
You'll see it pinch the claws and that when it gets caught on them. You see it
right. But the only like serious cuts on their bodies that we saw were the ones that they. I hate to be a smarky bitch, but the ones they put on their own foreheads with blading or whatever. Which it is, like you said, it is 2021. We can't exactly do a crazy ECW, CZW, whatever, FMW in Japan, like legit, like real barbed wire, real explosives, all that stuff. We can't exactly do that in this day and age. But then my response to that is, if you can't do that, then just don't have the match. I feel like it's like I said, I don't really like those kinds of matches generally, but if you're gonna do them, like do them, go hard or go home, it's that kind of thing. If you want to show how cool and hardcore and crazy you are and all that stuff, and do a match where, we could be maimed forever, or, our careers could end in this match. I feel like at that point you kind of have to do it, when you promise you're going to do this and then you do it kind of half-assed. As far as that goes, I feel like you need to, I don't know. I don't want to see Moxley get his career ended, or Omega's, obviously. But if you're gonna do it, do it. That's all I'll say.
I respect that.
I completely respect and entirely respectful opinion. I disagree, but like I still enjoy these matches for what they are, even if they are done in a slightly safer way. Because it's the same way with every move in essence. Like I always think, well, yeah, pile driver looks brutal, but it's obviously being protected during the move. Like in terms of these moves, I'm like, yeah, you throw them on a barbed wire, it looks brutal, but I don't want them to actually rip to pieces. I want them to like think, "Ooh, that looks painful," and we move on. Like I don't want to see like a big gash.
We know it's not. Like we can tell it's not.
No, that will still be painful. If you try,
yes, I'm sure it was painful, but it wasn't. What it could have been, I guess.
And to play to Alex's point here, a lot of people wanted an AEW product for that reason. Because they want to see what essentially somewhat what WWE used to do in the early 2000s, what ECW did in the late 90s. They want that, which again, power to them. I know that's in hindsight, that is technically an older generation. Really, you could fit maybe people like, I know Lex, you started watching later, which is why I say this. People like Pete and I, for how long have Pete and I have been watching? We started around nearly the same time, right? Technically, it's somewhat of our age group, somewhat. That say, give me the hardcore matches, give me the brutality, give me the blood, give me the
blood's a big one. Like blood in a wrestling match is such a big storytelling thing, though, as well.
It is.
If this match didn't have blading, it would be just like,
oh yeah,
utterly stupid.
Absolutely.
You need to do it.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is like, I just think that we have to, unfortunately, we live in an era where we have to modify what our expectations and adapt to what it is. Because let's face it, health and safety is more important than ever in wrestling in today's day and age. We've had history where like a lot of instances in terms of health and safety went horribly wrong. Yes, a good percentage of them in WWE. So I can't blame AEW for wanting to put this on, but at the same time, you're also trying to find the best, safest route that flirts with the potential of risk. I can't blame a company for doing that, because I say this unironically, they don't want blood on their hands. Not like physical blood, but in terms of like they don't want something severely going wrong. And I 100% respect that. Definitely. And in saying that, that's where we transition to the big boom, the big kaboom. Because in the history of these exploding barbed wire matches, I've actually saw the history of like what are the big explosions. They look like a nuclear bomb just dropped. It is it's not even like just the amount of pyro from what it looks like in the past. It's just the amount of smoke. The amount of smoke that goes into these things, I just give you the big illusion,
And it's
the
loud.
really huge illusion, the big mushroom cloud that people say, "Oh, dang, that was a big kaboom!" Right?
Oh, dang, that was a big kaboom.
Everybody said that at some point.
Those Japanese people said that. Oh, dang, that was a big kaboom.
The big kaboom. It was shit. It sucked. I'm not gonna hide it. It was horrendous. 5, 4, 3, 2 nuclear signs going around. All right, roll credits. It was awful. I'm not gonna sit here and say it was amazing. What I will say this though, I did see some clips on YouTube of people live at the event. The smoke that came out of it, okay, didn't look too bad. But the overall thing itself, for the love of God, Randy Orton had better pyro the night after on Monday Night Raw when with Kane's four-corner pyro popping out.
You had better pyro last night on Dynamite. So.
You could like literally
on the same show, Cody.
What I was expecting was at least the ring collapsing. You could have easily collapsed the ring and then rebuild it for Wednesday and then call it a day. You could have done that, for crying out loud. Oh my goodness, it was shit. But I'll say this. Yes, it sucked. It is not the be all and end all for this company.
No,
it really isn't. In my opinion, I don't see. I mean, it sucked. Yes, you can bash it completely, but I said this on Twitter about a few hours after it all went down. I said this. It was a bad ending, but it's not at the end of the world for AEW. If you're basing the entire company on that ending, then I don't know what to tell you. And I stand by that 5 days later. I stand by it. Because there are people that are saying, oh my goodness, this is garbage. Look at WWE. You got to see what they're doing with their pyro. That's the right thing to do. I'm like, are you really comparing the two situations? Like, are you really comparing? Like, yes, we expected big, but if you think that moment represents AEW, holy crap, I want to slap you across the face. It sucked, but the company will recover. You know what I mean? Like, it's not... You don't have to like continuously beat the dead horse saying, oh, the pyro guy messed up or oh my goodness, we're never gonna let this down. Sure, keep making fun of it, but the company will still be fine. If you like, it's like, sure, WWE trumps in production, but throw me a bone here and be like, it's not. This isn't like a crucial defining thing for the company that they're gonna go bankrupt. That's just my point, Pete.
Well, you say WD trumps it in production. WWE's got 50 years of experience in production on them. It's not like as I saw someone comment, like, yeah, this is probably the worst wrestling bang since Katie Vick. But
since what?
Since Katie Vick.
Bang, get it.
Like, for a start, it would have just been better if it wasn't sparklers. If the corners had just gone bang, that would have just been better. Even just the actual sparkler effect is maybe the most stupid part of it. But having said this is utterly terrible, obviously, but it's not as bad as actual terrible pay-per-view endings. It's a production botch. It's a huge production botch.
Yeah.
It's shit, and it hurt the pay-per-view, but that's it. It's not actual bad booking from like their standpoint. The actual booking in this spot was fantastic. If it
absolutely.
Like Eddie Kingston running out trying to cover Moxley, like, brilliant face turn if it went bang. But I've seen people like comparing this like Hell in a Cell 2019 and stuff like that, and just like, it's not comparable even slightly. It's a production botch. They botched the production of it. The actual storytelling, they didn't like mess up the booking. They didn't mess up the storytelling where you go, oh my God, I can't believe they've turned that guy. Oh my God, I can't believe they've ended the match that way. That's what gives me like all the hope from this. And then last night on Dynamite, they gave me way more hope than I had coming out of it, because they had every excuse in the book coming from different people going, they turned everything into a storyline. Kingston basically claimed that he passed out because he thought he was going to get blown up and had flashbacks to being in prison. Moxley just said he thought Kenny fucked up. Kenny and Don claimed that they did it on purpose to make Moxley look like a fool. Then Impact Wrestling got blamed because they exist. So everybody's saying what does AEW get out of this Impact partnership? That's it. They got themselves a scapegoat that I can blame for anything that goes wrong. Like, and plus now I've learned that I can happily watch 2 hours of just Moxley and Eddie Kingston chatting shit with each other. That segment was brilliant. They just like two mates drinking and just going, so do you think it was Kenny fucking it up? You're like, nah, like it just didn't go off for. Nah, Kenny fucked it up, didn't it? It was Kenny's fault. That's just brilliant. Just turn it into a storyline. Make the best of a shit situation. And I like that they don't... Even themselves didn't know which version's true. Like, in events, kayfabe-wise. They're like, I don't know. Something happened. It was crap. You know? Like, you can't make explosions for shit.
I will say
Eddie Kingston could sell water to a drowning man. That is how good Eddie Kingston is on the mic. Like, like they redeemed it for me yesterday. I thought yesterday's Dynamite was absolutely fantastic, and they turned an utter disaster into at least some sort of storytelling. And I appreciate that. It was a production botch. It was terrible. It was shit. It was garbage. But you move on from that. You make the best out of it, and I think they've tried to do that pretty well.
In just before we go to you, Lex, in terms of like comparing, like you brought up Hell in a Cell 2019. I think like I shared that in the group that there's a group saying somebody was saying that the if it was in Hell in a Cell 2019, or somebody was even saying that the botch of the handcuff botch at the Royal Rumble with Roman and Kevin Owens was worse. I mean, like one was in match, right? And it's just like it's hard to compare. Like both of the moments that people are comparing it to happened in match, so. You can't really. It's hard to compare because they're in totally different situations. And then, like, I mean, again, like nobody's saying that this isn't good, but I just don't think it's fair to compare them like that. I mean, you could, if you want to say it's worse, I guess fine, go ahead. But it's just hard to.
This isn't the first time this has happened. Like Terry Funk and Mick Foley had an exploding barbed wire death match, and at the end of it, it went poof. Like, literally did nothing. Admittedly, the biggest issue they had is Kingston didn't know what happened because he's got his face down covering everything. He doesn't know how big it is. He's just heard things go off. Yeah. So he just sits down and sells it, which is unfortunate. But this is not the first time this has happened.
Yeah, commentary trying to sell it. You know, they're just going, oh my God, Kingston's dead. Eddie's just acting dead. Let's go with you. And I know, and I hope you bring up, I really do, and I love putting you on the spot, Lexi. I really hope you bring up that you are desperate, maybe not desperate, but you're eager for Tony Khan to apologize. You want Tony Khan to say, we fucked up. It is, I love you, but it's also not funny. Lex, go.
Okay. Yeah, to your point, Pete, I was going to bring up the Mick Foley and Terry Funk match where, yeah, the bomb was a dud. The difference there, of course, was that Terry Funk's response was that of the Joker in The Dark Knight when the hospital's exploding. He just looks around and just goes, just like, you know, he didn't lie there like he was dead. He did, you know, if there was commentary, I'm sure they didn't, you know, act like, oh my God, what has happened here tonight? Because yeah, obviously Terry Funk was a guy who, you know, wanted to make sure everything he did was legit, you know, that he came off as real. Yeah, so you guys have pretty much said everything that I could say about the actual spot itself. You know, it was patently obvious that this was not what was supposed to happen. You know, Eddie Kingston selling it like he was dead. The commentators acting like we had just seen the end of 2 careers or even lives. And just the fact that, you know, the fact that, you know, it would have been a fantastic face turn, maybe one of the best, you know, of the past decade or something like that. But it was a popcorn fart, as they say. And, you know, I can move past that. They did do a decent enough job on Dynamite to cover it up, you know, making jokes about it. Kenny and his troupe acting like it was all part of their plan. You know, they did the thing where he and Dom Callis were 69ing in the ring. I don't know what the hell that was. But you know, hopefully they'll be smart and just move on. Don't mention it again. You know, don't, you know, keep bringing it up like a punchline, like you're in on the joke. You know, it's the joke's at your expense, not, you know, it's not. People weren't laughing with you. Yeah, I'll say that at the bar, you know, people were losing it. People were laughing their asses off. Like everyone was like, people were in hysterics. It was something else. They were also in hysterics, by the way, when Max Caster brought up Governor Cuomo. They were in hysterics for that too. So because New York, so there's that too. But anyway, yeah, I guess the one thing I could talk about that you guys haven't already that hasn't been mentioned is it wasn't as Jose said, Tony Khan's handling of the whole thing. I did watch the media scrum that took place afterwards. I think it was Inside the Ropes coverage of it, where the first thing they mentioned is, how's Moxley and Kenny? And his response was, they're doing all right. They're not seriously hurt. It was a good thing that bomb went off. I guess Kenny Omega doesn't know how to make an exploding ring or whatever. And then immediately goes into talking about how Darby Allin put the whole match together for the street fight. It was his idea, yada, 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 And they've done the similar things where Tony Schiavone has said, oh, don't worry about Sting. He agreed to take the power bomb. It was his idea, yada, yada. He's fine. The issue that I have with it primarily, I know you guys are going to, make fun of me or whatever, or just say like, oh, kayfabe's dead, whatever you want to say, fine. Kayfabe can be, I accept the kayfabe obviously is dead. No one believed that they were actually going to get killed in that match. But here's the thing. Kayfabe can be dead. If you want a wrestling promotion where kayfabe is dead, where you pull back the curtain all the time with the fans, you let them in on what's going on, you talk to them like, they know wrestling is a work and they, and you do things that way, that's fine. Okay, you can do that. You can do what WWE does when, for the most part, everything is done in storyline. Things are kept pretty tight as far as as far as them telling you what's going on. You'll hear from dirt sheet writers. You'll hear from whoever else about what happened. Like, oh, Vince McMahon was furious after this. But they themselves do not divulge that information until decades later when it comes to what actually went on backstage.
Sure.
But you can't do both. That is my concern. You can't pull the curtain back all the time, talk to the fans like, they know wrestling is real, not talk down to them about things, and then when you make a mistake like this, you immediately just close the curtain and act like, oh, it was the heel's fault. The heel did it. It wasn't a production botch. It was the heel. I have yet to hear anyone from AEW say that, oh, it was a mistake, or, oh, this went wrong. It was this person's fault, whatever. And they've done that for almost everything else that people liked. When Sting took a power bomb, they were like, oh, it was Sting's idea, it's fine. When the street fight happened, they were like, oh, Darby Allin put the whole thing together. It was his idea. But then when they do something bad that was objectively terrible, they close the curtain and it's like, oh, it was the heel's fault. That to me, that was my issue with it. I think that because back in the day, you could do that, obviously. You could say, oh, it was this guy's fault, whatever, because, things like that were kept pretty tight. But when you make it so everything is so out there and everything is so we're not talking down to the fans, we're not pretending like we're like everything is real all the time. And then you do, I feel like almost that's more insulting to the fans than just acting like everything is real or everything is real or not real. I feel like you need to be either 100% transparent or not transparent at all. And Tony Khan definitely failed at that. And the other thing that one more thing. The other thing that he said was, what were people expecting? That we were actually going to blow up the ring? That we were actually going to kill these guys? Yes. That was what you promised. That was what you said was going to happen in the match. You said these guys, this could end their careers, it could shorten their lives, whatever. This could be, the end of these guys, this match. And then when it wasn't, and it was because someone on your team made a mistake, you act like, well, what were you guys expecting? That to me, that's insulting, to the fans' intelligence. You either have to go one way or the other. You can't just suddenly act like, oh, it was the heel's fault, whatever else. On TV, do what you want with that. On TV, that was the right move they made on TV, in storyline. But when you're, in one sentence say, oh, it was the heel's fault, and in the other sentence say, oh, this guy put the whole fake match together, that's where I take issue with it. So when I hear Tony Khan or someone say that, here's what happened, it was a mistake, we're sorry, whatever, I'll be happier. But I like I said, I did like how they covered for it on the show in the storyline of the whole show. But I'm still waiting on that apology. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I
before you go.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But just two quick things. I think they were just so panicked following the actual.
Oh yeah, Tony looked completely disheveled.
They were just like, "Oh my god, what do we say? What do we say? What do we do?" And it's obviously panicked, put together a response. Mm-hmm. The second thing I want to say is he's saying when something goes well, they obviously credit Darby Allin, they credit etc. Mm-hmm. Because when something goes well, you want to give the credit to the person. Mm-hmm. When something goes badly, the last thing you want to do is single people out. I agree with your point. If they come out and just say it was a mistake and we apologize, that's probably the right thing to do. What they shouldn't do is say the production crew messed this up. You shouldn't be drawing attention to whose fault it actually is that went wrong, because then you're singling people out for a negative, and that's when you get like issues like internally with like staff, etc.
Right.
So praise the people when they do it right, but you definitely should not be singling out the person whose fault it is.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying they should be like, oh, it was this guy, this one specific guy. Just say like we collectively made a mistake.
I don't watch that type of like the actual.
No, fair. No, yeah, I had to for this thing.
I do.
No, I agree with you too. Yeah, don't say it was this guy's fault. Just say we collectively made a mistake and we're sorry that we didn't deliver what we promised we were going to deliver. And as far as you want to give people credit for good things. I feel like people often say that's why Vince Russo in WCW was like the writer on TV. It was public knowledge that he was the guy putting everything together because he wanted the credit for everything that was going on. You know, so sorry, that's random, but I do agree with you. Yeah, don't say it was that guy. Just collectively we messed up. That's all I want. That's all I want.
I think everybody brought up really, really, really good points. Like I said, at the end of the day, I see people and I know people that are just so blatantly, obviously biased against the company that it's like, guys, come on, like we can be. It's like I said, it's not that big of a deal, but I know you have those people. I mean, for example, like. Lex had an excellent explanation there. I think I 100% agree with Lex in the sense that, obviously as a collective group, you don't want to go half and half on the transparency. You have to be clear on something. And I do agree with both of you that yes, I guess if you really wanted to, or if you needed to, sure, you can say, hey, listen, I know people expected a lot more, expected a bang and expected them to almost die. We're sorry that we didn't nearly kill them. I know I'm praying around it, but you get what I mean, right? Yeah. I'm just saying that, like, at the end of the day, if you go in so hard on just that small blunder, I don't, like I said, I don't know what to tell you, but we're going to put our bow here and actually setting under the middle rope history, as this is the longest that we've done non-WrestleMania for a show, an hour 30, an hour plus.
And it was me on it. What a coincidence.
Shows how much happened on the show.
Congratulations, gentlemen. Well done. After on the eve of Under the Middle Rope's birthday, we set the record for longest podcast episode. Again, not including WrestleMania because we were forced to split it in half, which we will be better prepared for in a few weeks. But gentlemen, Lex, thank you as always for coming on. Pete, thank you as always for coming on. And as always, let's get to the closing.
Bye.
You made it to the end of the episode. You made it to the end of a very, very long episode. Obviously, we had a lot to say because this pay-per-view definitely had us talking, so I'm going to keep this very, very simple, very quick. But yeah, it was a long show. Lots of fun, a lot talking about, the big kaboom, as I said there. Next week is a very, very special week, and I hope you all tune in. It is our birthday. Under the Middle Rope turns 1 next week, so we cannot wait to have you guys here. We're gonna, reminisce on some old memories. Of course, have a regular podcast episode, but again, it's our birthday, so I cannot wait for that. So until then, that is that. Thank you so much for watching. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, available wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to us here on YouTube. I'm Jose Tabuada, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great one. Bye.